Okay, this will be the first in a series called Biblical Health for the Body. I know I have several series going, Revelation, 7 Steps, American history. But we'll throw in this idea and pass on some knowledge that my wife has learned during the last 3 or 4 decades of our path of taking responsibility for our physical body. Many years ago, my wife contacted meningitis, and we knew the medical profession could do nothing, so we took it upon ourselves to begin to learn what is necessary to aid our natural body. Now, I'm 64. And I'm still playing basketball at a very high level, meaning I play against high school and college players whenever we get the opportunity. I run a men's league on a Saturday night through the winter months, and on Monday nights we have an open gym. And the local high school, the public high school, if you watch the players and their team, of the 12 kids sitting on the bench or on the team, 11 of them play in our gym, and they all refer to me as pastor. And we have a very enjoyable time of playing. And so, like I said, I'm playing at a pretty high level with high school and college players. And I'll give the Lord the credit for His mercy and grace. I have had injuries through the years, but fortunately we have also learned techniques to heal very quickly as far as these injuries go, torn muscles, torn ligaments, where you can get right back on the court. You shouldn't get on for 2 weeks, but I've done sooner. And it's amazing techniques that we have learned through the years. So I want to pass this on because I, like John said in his third epistle, he said, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth." So that would be my goal, and so we can pass this on. In Galatians chapter 6, verse 7 is a commonly used verse for preaching, warning people about sowing seeds of sinfulness. And it says, "Be not deceived, God is not mocked. Whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting." Now, there is something in the food industry world, or what you place in your body, will reveal the power of your flesh. That passage is almost referring to, if you sow to the wickedness, you're going to reap wickedness. But the same holds true in diet and nutrition. What is the number one prayer request usually during the midweek service, or maybe if you have prayer requests on Sunday? It's always so-and-so sick, cancer, heart disease, diabetes. Why is that? It's because God has established the natural laws, and irregardless of being saved or lost, those natural laws will remain in effect. If a lost man places a kernel of corn in the ground, the natural laws that are followed, it will produce some corn, and the same for a saved man. If a lost man puts man-made food, what's called food, in his body, he's going to suffer the same that a saved individual, with the slight exceptions when God would intervene for our foolishness. Now, this is an idea that I want to encourage you to take responsibility of what you place in your body and put the right kind of fuel that your body needs to operate efficiently. Now, there will be some slight variations in each of our lives because we are uniquely different. But I'm encouraging you to consider and research different ideas about proper nutrition for the body. You know, medical doctors are taught very little about nutrition. And a person ought to be very cautious and thoughtful about what they put in their mouth. Now, no one has a perfect diet, and no one will perfectly control their fleshly appetite. Okay, but at least we ought to be considering these thoughts, these ideas. If you're going to stuff in your mouth, processed foods and fake foods and artificial flavoring and all the chemicals, then you can expect to reap the same. And you might bring up a prayer request that so-and-so's dying of this or so-and-so's got this, and God in heaven might just simply be saying, well, they're just reaping what they sow. And so we need to do research outside of the standard American diet. Before the fall of Adam, Adam was a fruitarian, I guess you could say, or fruitarian, meaning that he ate fruit, living food, fruit that was raw, herbs, seeds, and nuts. Nuts are usually considered a fruit if you go to Song of Solomon. After the fall, vegetables and other plants were added to his diet, and then God provided herbs, certain plants, for the service of man. After the flood, so that would be about 1,800 years later, meat was introduced to Noah and company in Genesis chapter 9. Now, does that mean no one ate meat before the flood? I have no idea. But at least that's biblically where it was introduced. And what is meat? It is secondhand plant consumers. When you eat vegetables and fruit especially raw, and vegetables in a better situation raw, it's living food, and you are firsthand plant consumers, and the body can really utilize that fuel for energy. Meat is a second-hand plant consumer, and a person says, well, I like my meat. Yeah, but then you doctor it up with processed foods, condiments, ketchup from vegetables or garlic and stuff like that. So you got to doctor it up with vegetables or products from vegetables. And that was added in Genesis chapter 9. The diet of Israel disallowed scavengers, third-hand plant consumers, as far as that goes. Now, there are some rules in food diet that I'm really strict on, and then there's others that I can vary. Now, remember that Eve was deceived. The first sin, Eve was deceived, and she put something in her mouth that appeared good. Now, Adam and them, if you look at the length of age, Adam and company, those people lived to be 800-900 years old. And I dare say they were probably much bigger. Some even think that Adam possibly was 90 foot tall. And I'm not discounting that idea. And I might do more research on that idea, but man definitely was much larger, including the animals, as you see with fossils of dinosaurs. And you can find fossils of very, very large people. But man traveled downward from 900 years to 120. I don't know if that was the standard age. It was mentioned in Genesis 6. Now, Moses is an individual who I guess lived the standard life. He lived to be 120 years old, but yet we know that he died prematurely because of his sin. But I would dare say that 120 years would be the standard after the flood. But yet, when you get down into pagan cultures, when they are eating mice and bats and all these scavengers and stuff, and spiders and bugs and tarantulas, their lifespan is 30 to 40 years with a lack of sanitation and everything. And so I would dare say the standard of age after the flood would be 120. Now, there are many areas that a person could study and research about nutrition and the byproduct of food. Okay, the China Study is a book that you can get. It's a 20-year study of the diet of certain Chinese people. When they would eat the regular Chinese diet, rice and vegetables and stuff like that, they lived a much healthier life. But when the wealthier Chinese lived according to the American standard diet, then guess what? They received the standard American diseases. Medical doctors are taught very, very little about nutrition. And like the woman in Mark chapter 5, when she sought the Lord out for healing, because it says, and a certain woman which had an issue of blood 12 years and had suffered many things of many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was nothing better, but rather grew worse. So I'm encouraging you to begin to read people who are successfully in their health, physical health. Why? To bring glory to God. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, it says this in verse 31, whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God. There are some locations in the world where there are many, many centenarians, people living over 100 years old who are active until the day they die. The Hunzas is one place where unsurpassed in perfection of physique and in freedom from disease in general with the span of life is extraordinarily long. In Okinawa, Japan, boasts of 900 people aged 100 and over, and this has the highest number of verified centenarians in the world. A fellow by the name of Stamatus Meritus lived in Icaria of Greece. But he came to the United States and was diagnosed with lung cancer in his 60s, given less than a year to live, so he returned back home to Greece to die. He did not go through chemotherapy or treatment. He just moved back to his home country and began to eat their diet. He simply got better and lived to 102. After 10 years, he returned back to America to see if the doctors could figure out why he got better. But all of the doctors were dead. What you place in your body is very, very important. I mean, if your car has been breaking down because you draw a conclusion that, oh, well, gasoline's a liquid, so I'm just going to put water in there. So I put, I'll try, only 3 gallons of water in this first tank, and then it starts sputtering and running rough, and you take it to a mechanic, and then he says, well, I can't figure that out. And then you tell him, well, I decided to put some water in the gas tank because, gas is a liquid, water's a liquid. He's going to look at you like you a nut, and you may just be a nut. And so I would dare say a person needs to go back to the drawing board and figure it out. Now, I realize that the health food proponents usually ignore this true spirituality of God in the Bible, and often you wonder if you look in the corner of a health food store, you might see a broom that they maybe traveled in on. But just because that is in the health food world, that doesn't mean that you and I should ignore it. It does say in Luke 16, verse 8, that the children of this world are wiser than the children of light. Now, just because they're going to ignore the healthy, physical healthy aspects and the mental healthy aspects of the Word of God, that doesn't mean we shouldn't take some benefits of taking care of our body. Proverbs 3, verse 1, my son, forget not my law, but then let thine heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. Proverbs 3, 8, it shall be health to thy navel and marrow to thy bones. Remember that the first sin occurred when Eve consumed the forbidden fruit in Genesis chapter 3. Eve was deceived, but Adam purposely chose Eve over God. Now, the advertisement of the devil enticed Eve to eat the forbidden fruit when she saw that the tree was good for food and that it was pleasant to the eyes. Now, that scheme has been perfected by the international food industry. People buy food, and mostly non-food. When you leave the produce section of the grocery store, you are now in the non-food section. People buy food and non-food by appearance, and these companies know this, so they will spray a wax on apples to make them appear better. You can take the apple and put it in 3% peroxide, and then the axe will manifest itself. They place oranges in an orange-colored bag. Why? Because people buy according to their eyesight. They place lemons in yellow-colored bags. The processed foods have colorful pictures and words like natural fruit and artificial flavoring. And do you know what that is? Okay, that is chemicals that tease your taste buds. And if you look at many of the ingredients, you'll see that high fructose corn syrup will be the second and third in the list of most products. White sugar is better for the body than high fructose corn syrup. White sugar is like getting shot by a .22 pistol caliber, but high fructose corn syrup is like getting shot by a .45 caliber. The fleshly aspect of the food industry is a monetary profit, but the spiritual or conspiratorial aspect is destruction and death to decrease the world population down to 500 million, as has been recorded on the Georgia Guidestones down in Georgia. So the first thought is, remember that the first sin occurred when Eve consumed the forbidden fruit. And the second idea, because of the strongness of the fleshly appetite, one needs to overcome your depraved appetite by knowledge of personal study. This is something that you cannot, get from somebody else. You and I need to personally study and research ourselves what certain foods do to our body. Proverbs 23, verse 1, it says, when thou sittest to eat with a ruler, consider diligently what is before thee. Put a knife to thy throat, if thou be a man given to appetite. Be not desirous of his dainties, for they are deceitful meat. The high meat diet and everything. Now, I'm not promoting a vegetarian lifestyle. I'm not a vegetarian. I will eat certain flesh products, like beef or venison. I never eat pork myself because I know what it does to my body. But you remember that Daniel was considered the beloved of God. He was told that 3 times by the angel Gabriel, and Daniel distrusted the diet of Babylon. He did. He distrusted it. And you and I should distrust the diet that's being advertised to us. Galatians 6 verse 7 is, you will reap what you sow. We often, when a person gets sick, if you would look at yourself and say, okay, what I do? No, we're not innocent little victims. Oh, this virus sought me out and got me. There are 5 crowns that are clearly offered at the judgment seat of Christ. Maybe 7. I kind of lean toward the 7, but 5 clear, obvious crowns, and I would dare say the toughest one to earn will be found in 1 Corinthians chapter 9. And this is called the incorruptible crown. Okay, so here's what it reads. Know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize. So run that ye may obtain. Every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. Okay, he's temperate in everything else except for what he's striving to master, whatever the sport is. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. I therefore so run not as uncertainly, so fight I not as one that beateth the air, but I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. Now there it is. That's the incorruptible crown. If you begin to take care of your physical body as an athlete does, proper sleep, proper rest, proper exercise, proper diet, enough water to drink, healthy air to breathe, and then the Lord is willing to offer you an incorruptible crown if you keep under your body. This incorruptible crown will be awarded to the disciplined soldier who keeps under his fleshly, depraved appetites of his body, and he studies and he takes responsibility for his own body. So I encourage you, as John said, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth.